Okay, friends, here we go. Alright, good evening everyone. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the channel. This is AfterCut, a live stream series about post-processing and processing post as we go through editing photos and film and discuss all the creative decisions that get made from raw footage or film or photo to final product. My name is Eric. I'm a photographer, filmmaker, writer, and editor. And yeah, tonight we are going to be going back to some of the Colorado photos that we've been looking at over the last month. And these are going to be kind of, as a small theme, kind of going to be looking at sort of the smaller moments, sort of moments that focus on like texture and detail, that still kind of tell a bigger story of the landscape. Also, my partner Erin is in the room. She's waving, but because she's off camera, you can't hear her waving. But a lot of these were selected by her, so guest judge's choice here. Yeah, and as always, the reason I do this is because I want to pull the curtain back on the process of editing and post-processing photos and discuss the creative decisions that get made there, because that's a side of the digital photography process that's never discussed. It's actually doesn't even come with digital photography. That goes back to film. Ansel Adams was doing that, just in very different ways, with chemicals instead of mice and keyboards and clicks. But as always, I'm here to share my process and to hear your thoughts. So please, if you have any insights or feedback as we go, feel free to share. Also, if you are a creative person and you spend part of your day making art of any kind, please feel free to drop a link to your work either in the chat if you're watching live or in the comments after the fact, because I would love to see your work. That being said, let's get into Lightroom. There we go. All right, so we've got a little collection here. I'm going to start with this one because I know what I want to do with it. Most of these I think we're going to do in color. It's going to be part of the fun. All right, let's go back to that view, and then let's just click. It's going to develop. There we go. Cool. That's it. I thought there was a weird line on that, but it's not. It's just an edge. All right. Yeah, I think we're gonna. This will be cool in color and black and white. But let's start with it. Let's start with cropping it. We'll crop it the same way in both. I think I'm gonna take. There's a couple little bits of trees down here that I want to bring up a bit. You're not watching this stream live on your phone from across the room, are you?
It might be.
Hey, anything to drive up the view count. I appreciate it. All right, close that. We'll keep it like that. I like that. This photo obviously is about just the layers and kind of the depth that is Black Canyon. Let's see. Let's start with that. I'm going to start bringing the highlights down because I know there's an extra layer hiding out there, and I want the chance to kind of see that. I'm going to bring the shadows up. This feels like it should be a low contrast photo. Turning up the clarity, turning down the clarity. I got an idea for that. There we go. Let's dehaze a little bit. That's the other reason to turn the shadows up. So I'm about to darken the rest of the photo by turning up the dehaze, just so we can get that back line in there. You know, I'm going to see what it looks like if I crop that out, just out of curiosity. It is more intimate that way. I also think I've got a photo that sort of does that. So, let's bring this... You know, let's do this as something closer to an 8x10. Yeah, I like that. I think that'll be... Let's bring it up a little bit so we keep the bottom where we wanted it. There we go. All right. Hang on one sec. Actually, that tea can just sit there. I just got to set a timer on it. In the process of making a picture of sweet tea, so I'm gonna let that steep for a bit, and I'll have to dip away for a second. But anyway, all right. Yeah, looking at that, I think dehazing it is a good move. I think clarity. I've got an idea. We're gonna do something with that texture. Same deal. We're gonna do something with that with the clarity. Bringing the blacks down, I think actually bringing them way down, I think looks good. Adds a good amount of detail to the stuff out here. Turning the whites up a little bit. Now keep that where it is. The highlights. can actually come back up now that I'm not trying to reveal that that extra layer back there. I think we can have some fun just by turning that up. Cool. All right, shadows are up as high as they're gonna go. Let's do a couple of things. There's not a whole lot I think I need to do with this photo. I think it looks really pretty good as is. Turning the saturation up a little bit, I think, is good. Give us a little more color in there. Really lean into some of those blues. Let's mask. There's two masks I want to do here. I want to try an object select. This is the one I'm a little more worried about. I want to see if I can get this whole like foreground in a mask. The darkest parts of the photo, I'd like to brighten these up a little bit more than they currently are, but I don't want to lose what we've done already. So let's see if we can detect this and brighten it up. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Cool. So now we can turn the shadows up more on those. I can turn the highlights up more on those. What am I doing? I'm just gonna turn the exposure up on those. I'm just gonna brighten them the old-fashioned way. There we go. Cool. Now we'll turn up the shadows. We'll keep the highlight. We'll turn the. Let's see, I want to do some contrast. Nah. Leave the contrast where it is. Where's the balance here? Where's the thing that's gonna be just that little extra bit of texture that I want? A little extra bit of brightness. Yeah, turn the texture up. I think actually helps. Turn the saturation up. We're gonna get something weird. So let's not do that. Yeah, let's leave that like that. Gives us a little bit of realism in the foreground. And then the next thing I'm gonna do. Hang on a second. I'm gonna put that texture back. I'm gonna do something else. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a linear gradient coming down this way. This one's gonna be fun because I'm gonna do basically gonna do two that are inverses of each other without editing them too much. So the ones going further back, up here, the purple area is what's being affected. I'm gonna turn the clarity down. I'm gonna turn the texture down. Actually, I'm gonna keep the texture up. I think that looks pretty cool actually, but turning the clarity down a little more to really make that softer, really soften that into those edges. And then we're gonna do a duplicate and invert. So now we have the foreground, and we're gonna turn the texture up here. So now we're affecting not just our section here, but also the stuff in there. So now the whole photo, the texture's been turned up on the entire photo while still having a smooth gradient for the clarity. I could do the same thing and turn the clarity up here. I don't know that it helps me. I think this is better, maybe just a tiny bit, just a touch. Actually, let's do this. Let's turn the clarity up because I like what it's doing to this stuff in the foreground, or to the first kind of couple layers. Then we're gonna go back to our ones here and turn the clarity back down. So we'll get, what did I turn that up to? I turned it up to 67. So back here we should have it at around -67. Yeah, -70. Somewhere around there. There we go. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. I like how that looks. Let me come down here and just adjust. If I just play with the blue, nah, that's too much. Like, I think the natural blues here, with the help of a little bit of a saturation push, is a good balance there. And I like this guy in the foreground. I'm debating. I could take that mask because we basically masked off everything that wasn't already blue, and we could add a little blue to it. Maybe that's better. But right now I'm gonna leave this as is. Do I want to do a black and white version? Not at the moment. I don't think I do. I'm gonna give this 2 stars and be happy with that and move on to another little one. So tonight's gonna be a lot of I hope tonight's gonna be a lot of quick edits on things, photos that I've got a cool idea of what to do with. We're gonna do this one, which is appropriate given that my girlfriend's in the room, because I took this photo with partners in mind. Because I saw this rock and it caught my eye for a couple reasons. One being the shape. This is a good 8x10 because this will make for a really cool framed piece. And then also for the color, because it's a nice reddish. So this is going to be an interesting photo because this is going to be a photo that I'm going to do almost entirely with masking. I don't think I'm going to do too many global adjustments except maybe a color thing at the end. Let's start by selecting an object. I need to see if I can get this rock. So that's the big thing. If I can get this rock selected as an object, we are in good shape. Wait for it. There we go. And that's just about perfect. Got to get this section down here. Zoom that out to 33%, just like that. Going to add to that. We're going to add another object selection, and we're going to just tell it we want this section. That little bit right there. That's pretty good. There's a little bit to touch up. The rest of this looks absolutely perfect. So yeah, just that one little bit, which I'm going to do with a brush, with feathering pretty low. This time I'm going to zoom in more. Keep my navigator open though. I need to figure out where I'm going. This little section here just needs to be grabbed. There we go. Fun thing you can do in both Lightroom and Photoshop, if you need to draw a straight line, is I'll demonstrate out here. You can click, and then if you hold Shift and click again, it will connect your 2 points, which is very useful. Cool. All right, so we've got our stone. Now we're going to do a duplicate and invert. Everybody take a shot. And now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn the texture down. If I turn the clarity down, it's going to look. Turn the clarity down, the texture up. That almost kind of gives it a little vignette. All right, let's put this. Let's turn the clarity down, texture up a little bit. If I dehaze, we're going to start getting some stuff we don't want. I think this is better kind of left alone like that. I don't want this to feel like it's too over edited. Turning the clarity up on this is a bad idea. Turning the texture up is a good idea. Turning the saturation up is a better idea. That's where we're going to go with that. Let's see. Highlights. No, I want this to... This one, actually, I want this to be fairly... Not low contrast, but I want it to... I like it to be kind of darker, so make it stand out a little bit against the background. But not too dark. There we go. Get those colors to pop a little bit. If I dehaze it, I'm going to get more contrast than I want. I'm going to keep it kind of as that. Let's see. Do I have wiggle room to adjust the angle a bit without losing too much of my... There we go. That's actually pretty good. Because that's... Reset that. 8x10, lock that in, cool. And then that was too far. That feels pretty good. Striking that balance. That feels like it's right. I'm looking at the thumbnail up here. That feels like it's pretty good. Yeah, okay, cool. So now, that's the other thing I want to do. Let's come back to our outside. We're going to turn the contrast down. Turn the highlights up. And then we're going to dehaze a little bit. That's the wrong move, actually, now I think about it. Something like this, I think. Yeah. A little bit of darkness in there. Just a bit. Turn the blacks down a little bit just to give a little more texture to it, but that really feels like we're hitting the right thing. Now let's come back to here. Now I could use, this is the thing I don't often use, the hue adjuster to let me like get really bizarre with this if I wanted to go harder with that. I don't think I need to do that. We're going to reset. I can push my colors a little bit. I was like pushing a little bit toward pink, I think, is going to give us a little more red, which will be nice. That's a bit more than I want. Cool, and that's, again, we're only working on the rock itself. All right, cool. So that's how that's looking. Now let's come down to our color sliders. We're going to turn the reds up. There we go. Orange is where it's at. What I want to do is move my orange slider a little bit towards red. All the way to pink, a little bit towards red, and then my yellow slider a little bit towards green. We'll turn the yellows. There's not a lot of yellows in here. This is almost entirely orange. All right, in that case, let's put this back. I don't really need a whole lot more saturation. It's mostly just some light color shifting. So a little bit of this. We'll go that way a little bit. The other thing is I can do a little bit of desaturating and color balancing back on the mask of the outside. So yeah, we'll push the saturation a tiny, tiny bit on that one. We'll push the reds. Yeah, we'll definitely bring the reds up. A little bit of magenta hanging out in there? No. A little bit of purple? No. Okay. I don't think blue is having anything to do with this photo. Green, maybe a touch, but not enough to really matter. I'm going to push the yellows out a little bit like that. There we go. Come down here to luminance. Could really brighten it up if we wanted to. I don't want to. I want to bring that up a bit. We'll go back to our masks. Our mask of the outside. We're going to push the colors a little bit back from purple so that we balance out what we did before with the global adjustments. Push that a little more. It's a bit much. Somewhere in there. Push that a little more. Desaturate just a touch. Just a bit. Come back out to our main adjustments. Turn the red saturation down. Turn the orange down. Actually, that's looking pretty good. There we go. There's the alarm for the T. All right. And yeah, now we have a picture of a heartstone, which, yeah, just caught my eye when we were out hiking. And I thought, yep, this one feels like a photo that's making me think of specific important people in my life. One other thing I'm going to do, kind of come down to my vignetting. I'm just going to take this up a little bit, which will give me just a touch of like a white outline, just a little bit of a white kind of blurriness around it, which will go well with the low clarity thing that we did before. So yeah, that's what that looks like. That gets 3 stars. I'm happy with that, and now I have a gift that I can give people for Valentine's Day. If I am able to wait that long, we'll see. Historically, I'm bad at holding on to gifts. All right, close that. Nice, that's looking good. All right, real quick, gonna throw up the Be Right Back slide and go get this tea out of the pitcher and into the bottles, and I'll be right back. So hold still. When we come back, we are going to jump in, I think, to this photo. I'll take a look at this one. This cabin sitting alone by itself with a lonely road there in the sky. That makes me really happy. I'm gonna have fun with that. So please hold. Be right back. Boom. All right, and we're back. Tea is mixed and cooling. So, let's take a look at this photo from Kebler Pass, which I love in both black and white and color. I'm going to keep it in black and white for now. Do I have anything going on in the sky? I don't think I do. Not really. I have a spot on my sensor going on in the sky. So we're going to leave that alone. That actually works really well for this photo because it means that this photo can kind of be like, means I'm forced to let this photo be have the clear kind of empty sky that it does, which is the thing I really liked about it. If you were watching the photo sorting stream, I think I talked for several minutes about liking this photo because it has this big open space above it, and that gives it the sort of like that space. To me as a photographer, I'm looking at that, and that gives me kind of like, that space gives me a breath of fresh air, which is kind of the feeling you would have if you were hopefully staying in that cabin. So now I'm going to select the sky as a mask. We'll see how long. It shouldn't take too long to grab that. It's just one big thing. Because I just dehazed and just darkened a lot of our stuff down, and the sky got darker as well. So I want that sky to be bright. Does it need to be? Where's the line on overexposure? There it is. There's the overexposed line. Let's bring it back. I think I can keep it just like that, and we're just slightly overexposing the roof, and that's fine. All right. Let's see. What else do I want to do? You know what? I think it makes sense for the rest of this to do everybody all together, duplicate and invert, get everything else, and I will do most of the rest of my adjustments here. Because that way I can leave the sky as is, and I can just affect the cabin and the trees around it. All right. I really like how that's looking. I think that's very cool. I want to do two more things, and we'll see if this will work. These are going to be object masks. We're going to select this road down here. This little curve of the road coming in. It's not bad. Let me zoom in and clean this up a little bit, but that's very good. Add with a brush. This time I do want to have a little more. I want to have the feathering a little bit more up, so I'm not trying to be exactly right on the edge. There we go. We're going to come in. We're going to get that stuff just like that. We're going to come and get this curve there. There we go. Cool. So we've got our road coming in. And this case, same thing I did with the sky. I want to brighten it up a bit, just so it stands out a little bit more. Turning the shadows down and then turning the whites up. Yeah, so it stands out a bit. So the road leading to the cabin I feel is an important part of the scene. Feels like it's a part of the classic sort of cabin in the woods feels. You want to see that one lonely road kind of going to it. And then we're going to do an object select on just the cabin itself. For reasons that actually have nothing to do with the cabin. I want the cabin to be exactly what it is. I want everything else to adjust. So we're going to try to select the cabin. We'll see how this goes. Honestly, should go pretty well because it kind of stands out. That's perfect. Yeah. I think we missed the chimney, but I'm not super worried about it. All right. Now we're not even going to duplicate. We're just going to invert this one. Because all I want is I want everything else, and I want to subtract the sky, which we've already found, so we can subtract the sky real quick. So now we have everything else. And this I want to brighten up. I want to brighten it up. I want to turn the texture down. Texture back to what it was. The clarity. I don't think I want to go too low clarity with this. I'm kind of liking the sort of harshness of it. That's too much. But brightening this up feels, how overexposed are we? Okay, roof in the road, and that's fine. Brightening this up feels like it's. I think brightening it up a little bit more makes the cabin stand out a little more. Because without this, I don't know. Actually, now I'm looking at it now. Maybe I'm overdoing this. Yeah, I think I think keeping the texture low is good. I think keeping the shadows where they were is better. Yeah, that's the move. Turning the texture being up there was too much. It was drawing attention away from the cabin, but keeping the trees dark and the cabin bright makes it stand out, especially because I'm doing the road what light. So and that's another thing. The road, the cabin, and the sky being the brightest parts of the photo helps connect to that open space, I think. Your road to your oasis, and then kind of the feeling of being there, hopefully. I'm putting a lot of faith in a white quadrilateral up here at the top of this photo, but I've got faith that like helps give it a breath. Now I know we just edited the road. Potentially could crop it up to here, lose the road, and kind of just. I do like that. I like that a lot, actually. How close to it? Let's see. 8 by 10. It's actually not too bad. If I was gonna do this as an 8 by 10, or do I go up to here? Hang on a second. Let's lose the. Can I change the overlay on here? There's a way to do it. I don't know what it is right now. We're gonna turn that off. I just realized I updated Lightroom and I didn't change that setting to not have the thirds showing up, because I as much as the thirds grid to help figure it to that people think of as like the way to put your subject on a third to make the photo more appealing, as much as that is a tool, it can also be a crutch. And I like this as is. What's 11 by 14 look like? A little bit in, so we could widen it out a bit. Let's do that. Let's do this as an 11 by 14. I feel like I'd be sad printing this photo as an 8 by 10. I think I want this to be. This feels like it should be big enough. It feels like feels like an 11 by 14 or bigger. There we go. And we get this nice line of trees at the bottom, and then we get a good amount of sky up at the top, and we've got our cabin. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna second guess myself one more time. And go back to the nope. There we go. Nope. The full photo is the better one. Like if I was gonna crop a little bit, cropping off the top, maybe. Let me see what that looks like if I do an 11 by 14 and go to the bottom. That's not bad. That actually, if I was gonna print this as an 11 by 14, I think I would do it like that, where you've got some sky. Probably do a balance. Probably do something like that. Yeah, that's how I would do it as an 11 by 14. I don't want to. I want to keep. I like it as a tall portrait. I like having that sky in there. So there we go. Let's go ahead and give that 3 stars. Let's see what it looks like in color. There is something cool about that in color. I don't know if I want to do anything with it right now. Let's go ahead and do our usual, make a virtual copy. Turn the black and white off. Set the rating to 2 so I can come back to it. There is some nice purple in here. Which is there's an interesting effect for why these trees are coming out purple. It's a combination of things. The first of which being that not the color purple, but the color magenta technically doesn't exist. Like it's a color we can't see, because the visual light spectrum, like we think of color as a circle, but like the visual light spectrum goes from blue to red, and so there's never a moment where purple gets created. Purple is basically our eyes see a complete absence of green, and because green is the color our eyes can see the most shades of. It's one of the reasons that like night vision is green, is because human eyes can see the most shades of green, because pretty much everything we're seeing that's not pure blue and not pure red has some green in it. So we can perceive a whole lot of shades of green. So when our eyes perceive a complete absence of green, we end up seeing purple, because it's like this is the opposite of green. That's 100% true for magenta. It's not exactly true for just other shades of purple, but some of the reason these dead trees out here look purple is because of that, is because they're surrounded by green and they're not green, and so our eyes kind of get tricked into thinking there's a little bit of purple in there. The other thing is the ambient, like our atmosphere, because of the way the gases that make up our atmosphere bounce the sun's light around. Our atmosphere tends to be a little bit blue. This is one of the reasons that the sky is blue, that we see the sky as blue, is because blue light tends to bounce around a little more. It's also the reason, if you think of the out if you're in Virginia or in the kind of that that Blue Ridge Mountains kind of thing. That's why you get that's where that comes from. Is the mountains kind of as they go off into the distance, they sort of actually this last photo we were just looking at is a perfect example of it. The reason this is so blue is because the air has that blue quality to it, and when I push the saturation a little bit, like that blue light that was just in the ambient air popped up. It's also where you get the phrase "purple mountain majesty." The reason mountains off in the distance have a bluish or a purplish hue to them is because of just the ambient blue light that's bouncing around in the air, and so that's another reason why these trees in the distance look a little bit more purple as opposed to some of the others, as opposed to the ones that might be closer to us. Like this one down here, this is harder to see, but like that dead tree down there, doesn't look nearly as purple as the ones up here, even though same material. So yeah, there's a fun little unexpected science lesson that didn't think I was gonna be talking about today, but I'm in a good mood. I like you, and I'm trying to impress my girlfriend. So, stay tuned for tonight's 5-hour stream on how important The Godfather is. And then we're all gonna watch the Barbie movie. Anyway, let's see. All right, so that's may come back to this one. I think there's a lot of fun to be had with the purples and the greens in this photo. I don't think I'm ready to do it right now. It's not. I can tell where my brain's chasing something else right at this moment. My brain is chasing these aspens, which is I really, really, really love this photo. This is a photo that I always loved what. Ooh, I like the deep greens there. Okay, color and black and white version of this photo are both going to look great. We'll start in color. Actually, no, we're starting black and white because I'll get distracted by the colors. But like, I've always loved wide-angle lenses. I've always loved kind of the way they make the landscape feel like just expansive and kind of give you this huge sense of the world. But I love when I can take a photo like this, like where the wide-angle lenses have that sort of thing. It's the reason you don't often see, like in movies, if you see a close-up shot with a wide-angle lens, if the person's in the middle of the frame, they probably look fine. As they get toward the edge, they start warping. It gets very uncomfortable. Wide-angle lenses tend to warp the edges as they bevel out. In this case, it works really well for this photo because now this warping gives us, like, that's zoomed in way too much, gives us some really cool detail, and like we can see in focus, like this one tree trunk, and it looks like, and it's clearly the centerpiece, and then you follow it up, and you can see it gets proportionally smaller as it gets higher. Obviously, it's getting taller, but also the lens getting less distorted is helping. Till we get up to the top where it looks tiny, and this photo, and like a wide angle lens, I think is the exact right choice. I'm really happy that I made this choice to try to take a photo that encapsulates the entire height of a tree, because this feels like, this is at eye level. This is the kind of thing you would see, and then looking up, I think this captures how it feels, and that makes me really happy. So, yep. What are you? Erin's over there cleaning her phone, and I'm sitting here being like, is she she's signaling something. Trying to figure out what she's up to. Alright, so let's look at this photo. Though, I'm sitting here kind of going, does this photo need anything? I don't know that it does. Maybe a little bit. I think this could have some fun. Clarity's too much. I think, like, in clarity, like, this photo is really about the texture of it. This photo just feels like it's about the texture of the forest, and the feeling of looking up at just the massive canopy above you and sort of feeling that sense of the world. Let me just turn things. All right, I do have a little bit of detail in the clouds up there. That actually getting that sky might be a thing worth doing, but keeping the texture up I think is a good idea. Dehazing I think, but I also I think I can achieve the same things by bringing the shadows a bit up and the blacks a bit down, giving us a little bit higher contrast. While keeping all the detail. I'm going to try masking the sky and seeing what happens. I'd like to get some detail in the sky. I think that's cool, but I also want to make sure I don't, like, just a little bit, just enough to have it without distracting from the central piece. Ooh, looks like we got some of that tree in there. Let's see how this looks. If I turn the highlights down, it's actually not too bad. And the whites, no, that's about as much texture as I'm getting. Let's come down here. If I dehaze it, I'm gonna get a little bit more. Yeah, that's gonna be the one. That's gonna be my determining factor. Clarity might actually be helpful in this case. Clarity or more texture. I already turned the texture up, so that's not gonna do a whole lot. It's interesting. Some of these, like clarity, is an effect that is not finite. If I make a mask and duplicate it and with clarity, like if I this is not the right photo to do this on. I'll do this on another photo, where I can take clarity and dehaze both. If I just duplicate the mask over and over again, the effect will keep getting compounded until the photo becomes useless. The texture is kind of finite. So if I've already turned the texture all the way up, that's not going to change anything. Turning the texture down on the sky isn't really making much of a difference, but because I've got the clarity up. Yeah, let's turn the clarity up. That's going to help define our edges a little bit. And then dehaze is going to be kind of my deciding factor here in terms of when do I start, and the answer was right there. Back. Yeah, the answer was there. Hang on, let's put the clarity back down. Yep, let's put the clarity back down, and let's turn the dehaze up a tiny bit more. Because I like seeing the texture in the clouds. I like seeing the sort of the detailing up there, but I also don't want to lose the like very cool use of like white space and the darkness of the forest. All right, that's cool. I'm happy with that. That looks. What is that missing? I need to crop anything? How are we doing on? All right, we're gonna crop in just a tiny bit on that side, just to really center our tree here. Back. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I'm very happy with that. Now let's play with some color. All right. So first thing, you'll notice if I dehaze the sky, we're starting to get some blues and purple in there, which I don't want. Let me scroll. Did I already remove the chromatic aberrations? Let me check that. Lens corrections. Yes, chromatic aberrations already gotten rid of. Profile correction. That's where it starts. You see kind of it loses, like it brightens up the vignetting, but it also changes the distortion to try and prevent that sort of warping effect that you get from a wide angle lens. Personally, I always like the distortion. I don't need the vignetting. I like the distortion. The distortion kind of, again, doesn't replicate exactly what it looks like, but does a better job replicating what it feels like to look up at a tree, look up at the height of one of these aspens. All right, let's see. So obviously greens are a big color thing with us. I think what I want to do on this one is turn the rest of the sliders down. I think this is going to end up being a monochromatic photo. I think that's going to be better. Turn the blues down. Yeah, turn everything else down and just keep the greens. That feels like a photo that I want to. Yeah, we'll turn if I turn the yellows up. Yellow is also playing a role. I think turning the yellow down. Actually, if I turn yellow up, you get that. If I shift yellow toward green, we go too far. But I also prefer. I think I prefer just the greens. I think my deciding factor being if I turn the yellows up, saturation wise, we start getting some of them on the trunks. And the thing I like about these aspen trunks is I like how white and stark they are. That's how I perceive them. That's what I like about them. So into that, but I will turn the yellows up. Nope, that's saturation. Saturation. I will turn the yellows up in terms of luminance. So we're desaturating. We're not having any color, but we are going to brighten up everything it perceives as yellow, because that gives us kind of brightens up the world a little bit more. This is a spot where I could get a lot more in the sky. I don't want to. I want to turn the blues all the way up. I want that sky to have almost no texture, just barely no texture, because that looks really cool. Aqua is doing nothing. One day, Aqua, one day your day will come again. Red's not really doing anything. Oranges, I can see there being a little bit of orange somewhere in those trees. Doesn't appear to be. All right, that looks pretty cool. What else do I want this to do? What else? Where else does this need to do to speak to me? Turn the blacks down a touch more, get a little more... you know what? Maybe not. Maybe I just put the shadows back down. That was too much. What is this missing? Maybe a touch of dehaze? Just a smidge? I don't know. I'm really liking the brightness. I'm liking how bright it is. I'm not... I wanted a little bit more contrast. I guess the word I'm looking for is I wanted a little bit more contrast. So let's add a little more. Let's add a little more contrast. Let's turn the contrast up a bit. Honestly, I'm rethinking going the opposite direction. Turn the contrast down. See the before and after here. All right, what did we do there that ended up getting us a little bit extra branch that I don't want? We did that. Okay, let's come back into here. Let's put the highlights back. Turn the shadows up. Turn the blacks up. Is that part of the mask? Looks like it is. I'm gonna test something. I'm gonna add with a brush and just. That's all already part of the mask. It's making a difference in the wrong way. Alright, delete that brush. I'm debating because I like having the sky be super bright. I think having the sky be bright. I like having the sky have texture in it. Texture in the sky makes it feel like a better photo and a more complete photo. But brightening the sky up too much makes it, or giving the sky too much texture. I'm getting this extra little branch in here that that sort of distracts. That's not in a bad way. Let me try editing that out real quick, just to. Yeah, I don't need this. I'm not using generative AI. So let's go ahead and see if it'll let me brush this one part of the branch out. Okay, I'm fine with that. Oh, come on. That happens when you update Lightroom and they decide to throw a whole bunch of features at you that you did not ask for. Alright. Add a little bit there. Gonna add a little bit there. Cool. Alright. And let me cancel that. I don't want you doing it with AI. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Fuck generative AI. By the way, to anybody watching who has not listened to my opinions on generative AI, generative AI as in its current form is completely unethical in the way it's being approached with the environment. Yeah, I got it. In the way the environment in the way it affects the environment, in the amount of water and power that get used to do it, and also in the things that are being sourced in order to create it. It's an incredibly unethical practice and really not cancel that. There we go. All right. Is that better without it? It might be. I zoom out. Yeah, that's closer to what I was hoping this would look like. I think it keeps this one tree kind of our center point and has a little bit of breathing room around it. So I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and give that 2 stars because I do want to come back and see if I can clean that up, and I want to come back and do a black and white version. So that gets 2 stars. I'm gonna go ahead and create a duplicate and go ahead and change it to black and white. So I've got the 2-star version, or the black and white version as well. All right, I think I've got time to jump into one more photo. Let's see. Do I want to do Maroon Bells? Do I want to do... I kind of want to do this one. This is one that I promised Aaron I would take a look at. We talked when we were choosing photos. We talked on the stream about selecting the photo. So like you like a picture of just a ton of trees is just a picture of a ton of trees, and sometimes that connects with people. But you want to have something that can count as a subject to kind of guide us through. And in this case, I was looking for a subject, and I found this tree with the pine cones up on top, and that felt like a subject. So that's the photo we're gonna finish out on. This one feels like I want to go kind of like that with it. I want to do that. This one should be a fairly simple edit. This one I want to be a little bit of clarity there to give us some texture, a little bit of texture. Nah, turning the texture up is going to be too aggressive, I think. We're going to start losing we're literally going to lose the forest for the trees. Lose the trees for the forest. Dehazing is going the other directions. That's interesting. That doesn't look good, but it's interesting. All right, we're gonna do this, and a lot of color work is about to happen, which is why I'm okay with how this doesn't look perfect right now. Shadows. Yeah, this photo will benefit from shadows and contrast, because it will. Yeah, this photo will benefit from doing that. Because if I take the contrast out, we're going to start losing the distinctions between the trees. Having the contrast, having the contrast up makes a difference. Now, let's come down and play with color. So obviously, green, hugely important here, but I don't want to turn the green saturation up. I want to brighten up the green. I want to undo some of the darkness we just did, and then bring up the green to balance it out. I'm going to take my yellow slider, which there's a good amount of yellow in here. I'm going to push it a bit towards green. For one specific reason, our subject are these pine cones, and they're orange, and I want them immediately noticeable. So the less yellow that's in everything else, the more the orange will stand out, and look at that, it's doing it. Let's turn the orange luminance up so they stand out nice and bright. Let's see, yellow. There's a little bit of yellow kind of hanging out on everything, so I'm going to leave that alone. Reds. What's red? Is red affecting these pine cones at all? Really doesn't appear to be. We're going to leave that alone. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. Turn the luminance on the green back up a little more so we can brighten it up. I'm really liking how this thumbnail looks. Here's the question. Is Aqua doing anything? No. Oh well. I can dream. What's funny is that there's been photos that I've worked on where green and blue have made huge effects, and Aqua in between does nothing. I think that's less of Aqua just not being present, and more Aqua just Lightroom not reading for Aqua. All right. What else does this need? It's looking pretty good. I can twist the pine cones a little more toward red if I wanted to make this a Christmas photo, but I don't. Go up here. I'm going to dehaze a little bit more. Nope, I take it back. That's not the adjustment that I want to make. Vibrance is going to make this look neon. Saturation might be. Yeah, a little more saturation. A little more saturation. A little bit more. Okay. That looks pretty good, actually. Let's do one more thing. Let's see how this works. I'm going to do a radial gradient, which will be a circular, or in this case, ovular mask that I'm going to center over our kind of central tree. And I'm going to invert so that we're coming out. And I'm going to kind of play with a couple of settings just to see what gives us the best effect. Saturation looks bad. What gives us the best effect? What helps our favored tree there stand out from the crowd while not feeling dissimilar from the crowd? Texture is an easy choice, but it doesn't look as good. It really doesn't. I think the answer is going to be. Highlights. And there's going to be highlights and shadows. Turn the whites up a little bit. I'm going to do a duplicate and invert, everyone's favorite move. I'm going to turn the highlights. That feels like we're doing a circle. Let's do... Alright, here's the plan. Alright. Delete that mask. Come back to here. Let's take a look at the overlay. And let's add the brush. Brush that's very feathered. Make sure the feathering's all the way up. And we're just going to just get rid of stuff and kind of get up, make sure our tree is the focus. I'm going to sneeze. Hold on. Thank you. And we're back. I think we've earned a reprieve. There we go. Okay, so now we've... Oop, that went too far. So now, and let's go ahead. You can see my overlay didn't get the outside of that. So let's go ahead and get this. I'm looking up my tiny little like mask icon here, showing me the lights and dark sections, and going, oh yeah, there's some stuff I could kind of get. There we go. All right, turn the overlay off. I think that helps our tree stand out a bit. Let's do, and now we can do that duplicate and invert. Where now, if I turn the highlights up, it feels like I'm highlighting that one tree as opposed to highlighting a circle. Turning the shadows up is also helping. Yeah, it's kind of casting a spotlight on our little dude here, and that feels cool. Let's see, turn the saturation down just a couple of notches on everything else. Nah. Yes, let's turn the saturation down a couple of notches. The other thing I could do is I could push everything else to a slightly different color. Push everything else just a tiny bit blue, or a tiny bit purple to kind of. The problem is that tends to, when you have a photo that's this green, pushing it to purple tends to just desaturate. Nah, I actually like that. I like that. I think that's something about that. I can't explain, but I like that photo. I like how that looks. I like how it, especially looking at the thumbnail up here. I think I need to come back into this one mask. I need to put the... Yep, let's do this. Let's do a new mask. Luminance range. This time we're looking at brightness, and we're going to get the darkest part of the photo. There we go. All of our darkest sections. We're going to kind of pull this down even more, so it really is just the darkest spots. And we're going to bring up the shadows. And we're going to bring up the blacks. Not that much. Bring up the highlights in there? That's not doing a thing. The contrast down. Brightening up a little bit. For some reason it's only affecting the middle, I'm not sure why. Let's widen our range here. And we'll turn the exposure up just a notch or two. Is this making it better or worse? It's really not doing anything. Okay. Worth a try. I do like how this looks. I like how this one's coming together. Erin's over on the couch nodding, and this is the photo she picked, so that makes me happy. Let me just center this a little better. Just sort of getting, there we go. Talk about composition making the difference. I'm looking at the composition of this photo. I'm gonna open this in my little forest viewfinder, my full forest thumbnail up here, and yeah, I don't know what it is, but something about that is standing out really nicely. Back to here. Turn the contrast up just a little bit more. Make our dude stand out just a bit. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I think that looks pretty cool. And a step further on my quest to get a really good picture of the forest that feels both intimate and personal and also expansive at the same time. So, yeah, there we go. We're coming up on our hour, so this will probably be the end of the stream for today. But that one gets 3 stars. I'm not doing a black and white version of this. He says as he looks looks at it in black and white. Nah. Color version's better. Color version just stands out, leaps and bounds. If I was going to do a black and white version, what I would do is I'd turn the oranges way up and then turn the yellows down and the greens down and do something like that, which I don't actually hate now I look at it. Okay. Well, you got me. This is why I share this process, is because you get to see me discover things and get to see me make mistakes and get to see me discover like stuff that ends up surprising me about the landscapes that I was and really helps me see them in a way that I potentially didn't before, which is really exciting for me. So yeah, this is why I do this, and it's something that I do this is why it makes me happy. Yeah, this photo is the black and white version absolutely not ready for prime time, but yeah, there's something to it there. There's something to just getting those pine cones to stand out that way. Like this more than pushing the pine cone slider to orange slider to red and making it look red. This makes it feel like a Christmas photo to me. This feels like it's the star on top of the tree. But this one looks good, and I think it's done until I have another brainwave about it. But I'm happy with it. So I'm gonna come back to our heart photo and use that to end the stream. I'm gonna have this on my screen while I finish up. Come back to just me. There we go. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being part of this. As always, I love sharing this process, and I love getting to, in this case, share a bunch of small moments that kind of tell bigger stories, or whether it's personal or landscape. So thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of this. If you are interested in purchasing prints of any of my photos, here's a QR code to my Go Imagine store, which have some of my selected favorites on there. And then also now that I'm hidden behind a QR code, you can't show you, but you'll see in a second. My postcards, my bracelets, the necklaces that I sell, any of those are available on that store. And then if otherwise, if the photos on there don't appeal, you can go to erichackler.com/photography and check out my photo portfolio there, where you can choose any of my photos and reach out to me about getting something made for you, and we'll make a special print for you. So give you a second if you want to scan the QR code. There we go. Come back to me. Here are the postcards. Some of my favorite spots from around the U.S. in postcard form that you can mail to anybody you want, and they all have a QR code on them, so that if you whoever gets them can scan that QR code, can choose the postcard they got, can add their location, add it to the map, and on my website we can see where all the postcards have gone around the country and around the world. So it's a fun little detail. And then got paracord bracelets, Carrick bends, and these cool shackle bracelets, and this kind of necklace, which is one of my favorite pieces of jewelry I've ever made. So happy to be able to offer all of that to you as a way of saying thank you and sharing every little aspect of my creative process and my relationship to nature. So with that said, thank you so much for joining. Thank you to Aaron for picking out the photos and for sending me little smiles throughout this whole thing. And we will be back doing more of these next week. Probably definitely 2, maybe 3 streams next week, depending on how chaotic my schedule gets. Looking at some more Colorado photos, some more West Virginia photos. I've been really enjoying those, going back and forth, those West Virginia Babcock Park gristmill photos, doing the fall ones and the summer ones. So we'll have some fun with that. It's also all the Cathedral Falls photos that I haven't had a chance to really play with yet. It's a lot of fun to come. So thank you for joining. We've got more in store and also more in shop if you want to again, Go Imagine, check it out. And in the meantime, keep making your art, keep connecting with the world, keep connecting with people. Like it's the things that we genuinely can engage with, and our experience of the world that is going to give us the energy and the inspiration to save it and keep it going. So thank you. Y'all are amazing. As always, be kind, be safe, and don't stop. Have a good one.